It's Friday, the 1st of November 2024. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes. Let's go. Story number 1. House prices across the nation rose by, on average, 0.3% during October. But, Sean, Sydney, Melbourne, Canberra, Darwin, they all went backwards.
Yes, in Sydney, the drop in home values was the first month-on-month decline since January 2023. And the downturn was driven by weaker conditions in the more expensive suburbs. According to CoreLogic, in Melbourne, the decline continues to trend, which really has been going on for months. In fact, house prices in Melbourne are down 2% over the past year or so. The mid-tier capitals continue to outperform. Last month, October, Brisbane house prices jumped 0.7%, Adelaide 1.1%, Perth 1.4%. Look at that annually. Brisbane's 13%, Adelaide's 15%, Perth is 23%. Pretty phenomenal house price growth, but it certainly has peaked. They are coming off. A consistent theme across all the cities is that the more affordable areas are doing better than the wealthier areas. The reason for that, according to CoreLogic, more first home buyers in the market, more investors in the market. Also, there's been a jump in supply that has helped slow growth in house prices. Not a disaster. Last year, Sydney's house prices, or over the last year, Sydney's house prices rose by about 4%. As I mentioned, Melbourne was backwards by 2%, nationally 6%. But certainly the oomph has come out of the housing market.
Yeah, certainly seems that way. All right, on to story number 2 now. Optus is being sued by the competition watchdog after allegedly putting undue pressure on consumers, including people with intellectual disabilities, to buy phones and mobile plans.
Australian Competition and Consumer Commission Chair Gina Cascott-Leap said, and I quote, "This case concerns allegations of very serious conduct, as our case is that Optus sold goods to consumers experiencing vulnerability, which they did not need, did not want, and could not afford." Now, the watchdog claims Optus acted unconscionably. That included pursuing debts. It continued after management became aware of weaknesses in its systems exploited by its sales staff. That's all according to a report in the Fin Review. The case in the federal court also alleges Optus put undue pressure on people to buy phones and communication services, even though some could not use the services at home because there was no Optus coverage where they lived. Interim CEO Michael Venter came out yesterday. He apologised. He said the telco has sacked several staff over the incident.
Story number 3, the flight upgrade saga continues. Sean, it is just not going away, with opposition leader Peter Dutton conceding his office asked Gina Rinehart's office to use her company's private jet to travel from Queensland to Sydney to attend a Bali bombing service.
So Peter Dutton he says he couldn't get a commercial flight. He said the government refused a request for an RAAF plane and a private charter was going to cost $40,000, so they rang Gina. He's not the only one who is caught up in this. Opposition transport spokesperson Bridget McKenzie, she's pretty much led the attacks against the government. She's now checking with airlines just in case she received upgrades. This is all on the back of a book by AFR columnist Joe Aston on Qantas. It infers that Anthony Albanese rang Alan Joyce, then CEO, asking for upgrades when Transport Minister, the Prime Minister's office yesterday, after many days, came out and said he had never rung, text or emailed Joyce about an upgrade. Fair enough, but wow, it's taken a long time for them to get that out.
Indeed. Story number 4, Coles says sales of its home brands are booming, particularly, Sean, the premium products, but otherwise turnover's actually flat.
Yes, that was for the September quarter. It follows Woolies' announcement the day before. Sales at Coles supermarkets were up 3.5%. Woolies reported a 3.8% rise. Prices at Coles were up just a touch, 0.1%. They actually fell at Woolies across all the products. Coles CEO Lee Weckert said shoppers are seeking out discounts. They're shopping at 3 or more retailers every week to keep costs lower. Coles' strategy is fewer, bigger promotions. So, for example, they might have half-price promotions rather than many 10% off promotions. The competition, she said, Ms. Weckert said, is not just Woolies and Aldi anymore, but it's Bunnings and Chemist Warehouse and those groups as well. It's pretty tough for supermarkets at the moment, even without the government pressure. What analysts think is that given Coles and Woolies are trying very hard to get customers back, they could end up discounting things more to try and bring back those customers. Gotta love competition, Michael.
Indeed. I keep saying indeed, Sean. It's because I wholeheartedly agree with every one of your stories here.
Excellent.
Last one, story number 5. I think you'll agree with this one. This is a cracker of a story. Starbucks is experiencing a crisis. Sales at the world's biggest coffee chain are down. Fewer people are coming into the stores, and the group's share price, well, it seems to have hardly moved this year.
Yeah, so it's about where it started at the beginning of the year, though it did fall in May and recover in September when they appointed a new CEO, a guy called Brian Nichol. He came in and this week said, well, the experience at Starbucks is transactional, the menus are overwhelming, the product is inconsistent, the wait is too long, and the handoff is too hectic. Thanks very much. Others have said there's also $8 lattes, a bit pricey. Other coffee shops now, 8-ingredient drinks take too long to make. A third of orders are mobile, meaning that all those people waiting in the shop for those 8-ingredient drinks and all those mobile orders, they're just waiting too long. Mr. Nichol is highly regarded. He's come across on a package worth about $100 million. His first steps, he said, is don't charge for non-dairy milk, don't increase prices, and he set the goal of being served in 4 minutes.
All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Friday, the 1st of November, 2024. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.